Miracles, they come late, but they come.
Hello, and welcome to Big Angie Fan Channel here in beautiful Hawaii. It's finally time for me to do my review of the masterpiece Angelina Jordan album, Secret of the Soul. I've been wanting to do an in-depth review for some time now. Here I am in one of the most beautiful beaches in Hawaii, and so let's go. So to start out, I'll say that I think that the reason that this Angelina Jordan album is a masterpiece is because mainly of the emphasis that it places on the very quality that Angelina Jordan has that is the most unique and the most special about her. So what is that quality? Let's go through some things that it could be. Is it her jazziness? You know, she has jazz roots, and anything that she does is going to have quite a bit of jazziness to it. And that this album is certainly no exception to that. For example, No One Can Hear My Heart. That's one of the most beautiful kind of jazz original compositions by her that I've heard. The vocal dynamics, the kind of simple bass and other, simple kind of jazz instrumentation in the background. Just a fantastic song.
I light a candle in the dark. The shadows still dance on the walls. I whisper secrets to the night, but no one hears my silent calls. My hands are shaking from the cold.
But jazz is not as much of an emphasis on this album as it has been on others. There's less of the kind of complicated runs, and the the vibrato is less prominent than in other albums. In general, of course, it has jazziness, but it's certainly not putting jazziness at the very forefront. And also, I don't think jazziness is something that is unique to Angelina Jordan. You think of Amy Winehouse, probably the most famous example of somebody who did pop but was a strong jazz influence. So if it's not jazziness, what could it be? Well, one thing is, when people talk about the singing style on this album, they talk about sounding more like a crooner style than a jazz style. People like Roy Orbison, or especially Nat King Cole.
Unforgettable. That's what you are. Unforgettable.
And that is a style very much associated with the 50s and 60s. And so one thing you could say is maybe this is having a vintage style is something that is, very unique to Angelina Jordan. And certainly she often does have a very vintage style. I would describe it as more of a timeless style that uses vintage elements. But this album uses vintage elements a lot. I mean, more than other albums. Certainly a lot more than the EP Old Enough, which is deliberately trying to have a more modern feel to it, although it also had the old vintage elements. But this one, yes, in addition to that crooning style of singing, you also have the instrumentation, which sometimes feels like it's coming out of a 50s movie, the swelling strings, So it's definitely very strong on the vintage. And that is something that is very Angelina. For example, this song here. Oh, actually, no, that is from her album It's Magic. That's the Bobby Vinton song, Mr. Lonely. But it's, again, that is a 60s crooner type of musician. And the instrumentation, is very much from, reminiscent of 1950s movie scores. But I don't think that vintageness is what is really unique about Angelina Jordan. It's something that she uses as a means to an end. So, what could be this unique quality of Angelina Jordan that this album focuses on and it really raises it to the level of a masterpiece? So, if it's not jazziness and it's not a vintage style, what about just the simple tone of her voice? One thing about crooner style singing compared to jazz singing is that it's more just about having this warm tone, and that certainly comes through a lot in this album. I think that one of the individual strengths of this album, as opposed to kind of the overall theme of it, is just how beautifully warm and inviting her voice sounds.
And when your world is aching, I'll carry the pain. If you cry, let your tears fall like warm summer rain. There's no one but you who can love me this way. No one but me who can make your soul stay. So peaceful beside you, so still in your life.
I'm tearing up
Let
already.
me be your shelter, just hold.
Now, Alan Papier from the Angelina Jordan podcast, Wrapped in a Warm Blanket, interviewed a woman named Miss Psycho, and she talked a lot about this concept of it's all about tone. It really comes down to that. And this is starting to get closer to what I think is this most unique quality of Angelina Jordan, because this tone that she has, so beautiful in this album, definitely is one of the main means that she uses to the end that I have in mind, the end of emphasizing a certain quality that she has. But the tone itself, I think, is not the most unique thing about her. There are other singers that have a very beautiful tone. So no, it's not jazziness. It's not the vintage feel, and it's not even the tone. So what is it about this album that elevates it so much? But before I get into that, I do want to say the very few ways that I think that this album, being an independent labor of love effort by Angelina Jordan and her grandmother, detracts from its quality, before I get into my conclusion about why it is a masterpiece. One thing is, without having more professional songwriters involved, sometimes the song structures can be a bit clunky, and you see that, for example, in that beautiful second cut from the album.
I've waited long, I've prayed, I've tried. Forever starts with you tonight.
But why have this beautiful instrumental section be that far towards the end, and then have at the end have just one short verse. Like, I think if you had moved that instrumental section back like one verse earlier, the song would have flowed better. People can disagree about that, but that's just one example I noticed. Also, there's some technical things, like here, you hear this buzzing sound that it seems hard for me to think that was intentional. And I think having a professional team behind them, they would have caught something like that. And then the other thing is, just by being something that she did with her grandmother, the themes tend to be very autumnal, dark themes. And though most people have reported that this album goes and goes and goes on, and that's certainly the case for me, there are a few people who just, and these are pretty big Angelina Jordan fans who've said that, they just can't get into it. It has a sameness quality to it. And I think that is something that being being an album that was being produced with the help of a record label, that could have been addressed. There could have been some more upbeat stuff. And so, you can say that that's not a weakness artistically, but it is commercially. This is obviously not going to be this breakthrough album in terms of having, these monster hits or anything. Okay, so that's just to get that out of the way. But, like I said, I think this is still, this is a masterpiece of an album. And it's also mostly able to be a masterpiece because it is an independence, labor of love from the heart collaboration between Angelina Jordan and her grandmother. So, what is this unique quality that this album emphasizes that makes it so great? So now it's a beautiful sunrise. I kind of ran out of time. So coming to my conclusion here at dawn, but this dawn fits my metaphor for what's going on in this album. So what is the unique superpower that Angelina has above and beyond any of the other things we've talked about? I would say it's her unique ability to make you feel. So many people have talked about this. They can talk about other singers that have this, beautiful jazz techniques, powerful voice, good phrasing and everything, but that so subjective element of just making you really feel the song is just something that is owned by Angelina Jordan. And this album focuses on that superpower. There's all of the things I already talked about, which help to serve that. For example, the jazz singing, which is less prominent than on other albums, but when you have these long, beautiful runs, they're usually associated with a word or phrase that makes the feeling of that phrase really come out. It's something, again, these things are so hard to explain, but here's some examples of that.
And if someone asks about the girl who sang your name so long ago, say nothing loud, just point to wind and let the silence grow.
Sorry.
Since you went, you called it fate when things went wrong, but you knew just what you did. Not by chance, it was your choice, and still I always let you in. I never asked for perfect love, just honesty and grace. But you were my kindness like a mask, and vanished without a trace. And I forgave you every time. Not 'cause I was weak, but brave inside. You took my love and crossed the line, but I still stood by your side. Each time I let you in again, you came back harder, cold as stone. But I was never made to run.
And very importantly, her voice is very high up in the mix, higher up in the mix than in any other music I can think of hers. So that's emphasizing, with that emphasis on the voice, again, that helps that superpower of bringing the feelings out. So not only have I never heard her voice sound warmer and more inviting and rich, but it's also the most out front. You can enjoy it the most. And so, all of those, the vintage style, for example, I talked about it being a means to an end. For example, the swelling orchestration, that's not only to, be a 50s, feel like 50s movies, but also that kind of swelling symphonic orchestration was used in the 50s movies in a way that kind of seems exaggerated to us today, but it was used in 50s movies to convey emotion. So it's just adding to that, let's have these, let's feel things. Another thing, the lyrics. At their best, they're absolutely masterful, and they're lyrics about strong emotions, about feelings.
Now I'm left with memories and pain, with kisses that won't come back again. My heart keeps crying out to you, come back or tell me we're through. Now that I found you, let me cry like diamonds falling from the sky. I'll write your name in every line and make this broken heart divine.
And so you put all of these things together, and you just get, Angelina Jordan's ability to make you feel expressed in the best way possible. Now, because that's what is being done here, that's one of the reasons why this is not going to be an album that has these monster hits and, be a big commercial success, because it is too intimate. It's too much about feelings. And it's more about pure feelings than about the lyrics telling you how to feel. That's a big difference. Like the song Summer Wind is a very, very sad song, and it certainly can make you feel sad. But many people have talked about feeling very comforted when they hear this song. And because it's just the way that she sings the words, gives you this strong positive feeling despite the weight of the lyrics.
All right, she found her sound. That is her sound right there. That's it. Wow.
And so I just want to conclude this by talking about the song Play No Game, which of course the lyrics can be interpreted in many ways. But just like her song Love Don't Let Me Go from the EP Old Enough, I think this can be interpreted as a song about a thing rather than a person. In this case, the thing is, the pure music that Angelina loves. And if you use like the word music in place of the word you in this song, it really makes a lot of sense to look at it that way. The story of how, you know, the music found her at an early age, and she just loves the music. But then there was a question of how to bring it out to the outside world, and so there was the move to LA that, you know, I think these lyrics here could be referring to.
To leave behind what I once knew and walk through fire straight to you. You said don't come, but I had to try.
And then that being problematic for her, the music industry wanting her to change in ways that she didn't want to. But then coming out on the other side, the very last lines of the song is kind of saying where she has come full circle with this album. Now I know where I belong.
You broke me soft without a word, yet did that break a song I could.
You know, this is an album that you're going to have to sit down and listen to, but if you give it the attention it deserves, you're so richly rewarded. Not everybody's going to get it, because it is so personal. But like the Bruce Springsteen album Nebraska, which the industry honchos didn't want him to put out because it was so raw, you know.
I agree with what Archangel is saying here too, that there's just a rawness, and there's no pitch correction.
And it was a great album. And this is, in a very different way from Old Enough, this is just a great album of Angelina Jordan making you feel, which is absolutely the most unique superpower that she has.
So let me thank you for the ache you made.